Okay, but Bill, can I ask you something? Like, as a person who's on the side that sees itself as like the defenders of democracy, there's no part of you that is made uncomfortable by this like exploding, ever-growing lawfare effort. Donald Trump is the most popular politician in America. The side that claims to be the defenders of democracy should want that fight to happen at the ballot box.
I do.
But let me just ask you think a person living on a shoestring budget who doesn't have $400 for emergency is wrong about which president is helping him? Wait, so the idea that you both agree with is that there's a whole bunch of working class people in Ohio who have been given good jobs in the American dream by Biden, and they just don't realize it? Like, that's the theory, really?
Well, some of
That's
that...
the idea.
He's done a hell of a lot more than cut tax.
You think the country is better off now than it was 4 years ago? You really can say that with a straight face, that we're doing better now than in 2018, like economically, in terms of this immigration crisis? Like, you think we're doing better now than 4 years ago? Really?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back to First Reaction TV. My name is J Mart. So tonight we have another episode where Bill Maher embarrasses himself. And unfortunately for Bill, this has been kind of a reoccurring thing that has been going on lately, where Bill Maher has kind of exposed himself to not really being up to date on the actual political climate.
Trump, of course, is even more demented and full of dementia.
Trump is more dementia than Biden?
Yes.
You didn't just say that.
So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump right into the video. We're going to see some of Bill Maher's economic takes, and we're going to hear what these Democrats think about the working man, the working class, and we're going to see why they think Joe Biden is their man.
This is the thing. His friends on the Supreme Court, now, I can't look into people's minds, but it does look like they are running out the clock. Because you know that after he gets reelected, which is ever more likely, these trials will never happen.
Donald Trump is the most popular politician in America. The side that claims to be the defenders of democracy should want that fight to happen at the ballot box.
I do. Well, that's a different case. Those are different cases. There are 3 states now that have said he can't run because he's an insurrectionist, which he is. But okay, I still think you're right. Colorado was the first one. And by the way, his pals on the Supreme Court, that one they heard right away.
Yeah.
We're going to get an answer to that very quickly.
Yeah.
That one suddenly was an emergency.
It's not whether or not you think he's guilty or I think he's guilty or anybody thinks he's guilty. The question is he above the law?
Right.
And is he getting preferential treatment because of who he is?
Right.
And so he is getting preferential treatment. Every signal that the Supreme Court is sending is that he is above the law, and no citizen should be okay with that.
Preferential treatment and above the law? Where have I seen that before?
So we are learning new information about foreign business dealings involving the president's brother, James, and son, Hunter. More than 150 transactions involving either James or Hunter. Biden's global business affairs have been flagged for further review by U.S. banks.
Misinformation about me, not about my dad. Nobody buys that, but it buys this idea that I was unqualified to be on the board.
What were your qualifications to be on the board of Burisma?
Bottom line is that I know that I was completely qualified to be on the board.
You were paid $50,000 a month for your position. If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that if my last name wasn't Biden.
All right, so getting back to the conversation at hand. When Democrats have this conversation, it absolutely blows my mind whenever they make these claims about Donald Trump being above the law, preferential treatment, and they can't even look in the mirror at their own people. Democrats and their elites are some of the most preferentially treated people, and they use their money, their power, their influence to make sure they get their way. And on top of that, you literally have a prime example in the White House right now of an entire family that has gotten preferential treatment. And not only that, they act and have acted like they're above the law by breaking the law countless times. And it's like this elephant in the room, and they just ignore it. They pretend that like this isn't reality. They pretend that the current president isn't tied to massive massive preferential treatment claims and breaking the law. On top of that, whenever they make these claims about being above the law, that's what this Supreme Court case is about. They're going there to literally settle this case about what the president can and cannot do. And then whenever the court cases that they brought are being followed, then they get mad and they blame the Supreme Court. They brought these cases. Like, they made this happen, and now that it's in the Supreme Court, now they're all butthurt about the Supreme Court's rigging this. The Supreme Court is gonna side with Trump because of how dirty and corrupt they are. And they slander the Supreme Court like crazy over this conversation, and they brought it. They brought these cases. Like, they brought the cases, and now they're mad about it being in the courts. It's mind-blowing. So next, Bill Maher takes a page out of MSNBC's book and puts a little bit of misinformation / hysteria out there. Check this out.
What's so dangerous about this is the movement he is leading. Okay, this year, there's a guy, I've heard this name, I don't know who he is, Jack Prozobic. He's doing sort of like a roundtable discussion, you know, it's a convention, they have these things. This is a quote, "Welcome to the end of democracy. We are here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it." Am I missing an irony here? Am I missing a joke?
Unfortunately for Bill, that's all it was. It was a joke, and it was meant for people like Bill Maher and the entire left-wing establishment, where this video has gone viral on all the left-wing websites, on MSNBC, on CNN, and they played it like that this was a real thing. It was a literal joke. The guy went up there and was joking and making fun of people exactly like this.
I just wanted to say, look, welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
Obviously, Bill doesn't even know who this guy is. Nobody knows who this guy is. So the fact that they're putting this out there and making it sound like that it's this dangerous following and that the people who might vote for Donald Trump are dangerous, right-wing extremists, it's just another talking point that isn't real. This guy was making fun of people like Bill. He made fun of you, and you guys fell for it. That's how bad this is. You're playing this on a nationally televised show on live television about how dangerous this guy is, and he made fun of you. He was making fun of you. That's embarrassing. Alright, so I think this continues the theme of Bill Maher being out of touch with reality and out of touch with society. Obviously, Bill Maher didn't look this clip up. Obviously, Bill Maher didn't do any research about this. If he did, he probably wouldn't have read it off this piece of paper and called him dangerous and said that there's this dangerous following. Why'd he read it? Because his producers told him to read it. Now we're going to get into the economic issues, and we're going to see how out of touch he is with the everyday working American.
The economic issues, you seem to say, and I don't get this, that is friendly turf for the Republicans, because I feel that's where the Democrats are doing better for the real people, and they don't advertise it very well, but that should be their territory.
Now, the Democrats used to be the party of labor. They used to be the party of the working class 50, 60 years ago. But they lost those voters to the college-educated elites and then the dependent poor.
Right.
So the Democratic Party now is bifurcated, right? They cater to college-educated, credentialed elites and then to people who are poor and live on the government and cannot support themselves. What that meant was there was no party representing 60% of Americans who are working class, middle class, working really hard, trying to make it. Trump showed up and he spoke directly to those people. And I'm sorry, Bill, but he made a difference for them. He changed the calculation. Let me tell you why.
He spoke it. He didn't do it.
Let me tell you why. When he showed up, there was a handshake agreement between both parties on free trade. Remember NAFTA? That was the Democrats, okay? That was the Democrats changing from representing the working class to representing the elites, right? Now the Democrats represent 9 of the 10 richest counties in America. Did you know that 65% of Americans who make more than $500,000 a year now vote Democrat? Let me just ask you think a person living on a shoestring budget who doesn't have $400 for an emergency is wrong about which president is helping him?
I think so, because
really?
Trump, look, Bill's right. The sentiment of Trump. I'm from Northeast Ohio. I represented Youngstown, Akron, Rust Belt towns. I watched what Trump did, and he was able to connect. But the fact of the matter is, when he got in, he had one signature legislative accomplishment, and that was a major tax cut for the wealthiest people that live in those counties, and that was the only thing he did. But the reality of it is, and this is undeniable, Joe Biden has reindustrialized the United States of America. Between the CHIPS Act, and we're seeing it in Ohio. You could just take Ohio as a microcosm. The CHIPS Act that was passed, which is bringing back chip manufacturing for the first time in 30 or 40 years. Huge $100 billion facility just outside of Columbus, Ohio by Intel. You take the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We're going to rebuild this country. Over $1 trillion is going to be spent.
So why is he losing Ohio?
Well, let me finish real quick. The Inflation Reduction Act. We have battery plants being built in Ohio. We have electric car manufacturers expanding production. We have bridges being built. The union construction guys are going to work like crazy. So he has done it. But the reality of it is, one, it hasn't sunk in, the message-wise.
Why do you even need a message if you're actually going to the job that the guy created? I mean, isn't that the message? Why do we need more?
Not everybody's working there yet. The plants aren't open yet.
All right, so that last point was pretty priceless right there. And this is the same conversation that pretty much every Democrat pundit on mainstream cable is having right now, where their talking points are messaging, that people have it so much better than they realize, they're just not being told in the right way, and that if they tell people better, then they'll realize how much better they have it. They're just too stupid to realize how much better their lives are right now under Joe Biden than when Trump was in office. And then Tim Ryan goes on to tell you that not only are you too stupid to realize how much better your life is, then he goes on to list a whole bunch of jobs that aren't created yet.
Not everybody's working there yet. The plants aren't open yet.
This is the disconnect between Democrats and normal working class Americans. You have a man sitting up here mentioning the Inflation Reduction Act that didn't lower costs for Americans. You have him then referencing jobs that aren't real yet. Then you have him talking about these EV and battery plants that are not even American owned and that are Korean owned or Chinese owned. How is this helping everyday working class Americans? The disconnect is just out of control. Even though Bill Maher and Tim Ryan have this massive disconnect, there's at least someone on stage that has some sort of common sense and some sort of wherewithal about the everyday working man and working woman. Batya Ungar-Sargon comes back, and she gives Bill Maher a piece of her mind.
Wait, so the idea that you both agree with is that there's a whole bunch of working class people in Ohio who have been given good jobs in the American dream by Biden, and they just don't realize it? Like, that's the theory, really?
Well, some of
That's
that.
the idea.
He's done a hell of a lot more than cut taxes for the wealthiest people. But the reality of it is, it's got to be, we've made some huge investments. We're reindustrializing the country. I give a damn about you. I understand. But we got a hell of a long way to go.
He was the vice president when Obama passed Obamacare. That matters to people's pocketbooks more than almost anything. Health care. Obamacare did more for people, actual people.
All right, so this is starting to get embarrassing here. They're asked a pretty straightforward question here, and Tim Ryan has no answer, and he brings up Donald Trump and tax cuts. Bill Maher brings up Obamacare. Obamacare from 2008 that had nothing to do with Joe Biden because he was the vice president, and it's called Obamacare, not Joe Biden care. On top of that, Bill Maher's premise on Obamacare is way off. Obamacare helped 18 million people. 18 million people out of a country of 300 million people get health insurance. The rest of those 300 million people, their premiums went up. So the normal, everyday, working class man, their health insurance costs went up, while the people that qualified for government aid got free health insurance. So the Democrats still struggle to understand this concept and why people don't love Obamacare. It's because it screwed a lot of people. It screwed a lot of everyday working Americans, and it screwed a lot of small businesses out there. And they can't understand this concept.
I think the country is better off now than it was 4 years ago. You really can say that with a straight face, that we're doing better now than in 2018, like economically, in terms of this immigration crisis. Like, You think we're doing better now than 4 years ago? Really?
Well, there was a pandemic in the middle of it, which we greatly overreacted to.
And recovered from.
And recovered from. Well, who did that?
I'm saying, do you think the country is better off now than it was 4 years ago?
I think there were these two crises. I think there was
Surprising. Do you?
two major economic crises in this century. One was the meltdown in 2008. Obama came in, no drama Obama. People like Mitt Romney said, let the auto industry die. Didn't. The country didn't go into a depression, and it could have with the wrong president. I also think the wrong president, we came back better for the pandemic than any other big boy country in the world. So yes, I do think it matters who the president is.
Okay, so no answer, and we're talking about Obama again for some reason. No answer. So let's keep going because he's going to get asked again.
So, do you think we're better off now than 4 years ago?
4 years ago was 2020?
Say 2018.
I don't know. I was wearing a mask.
2018.
I hated my life, you know.
2018. Are we better off now than we were in 2018?
Here's the reality. If you got
We're not
money,
worse.
you have,
We're
you
not
have money.
worse?
We're not. How are we worse? In what way are we so? What's so terrible out there that wasn't happening in 2018?
We ask the American people. I mean, inflation, immigration crisis, 8 million people here who cross here illegally. Like, we don't know who they are. Crimes being committed. I mean.
Well, I mean, crimes are being committed
People can't
always.
afford homes because of the high rate, the mortgage rates.
Well,
Well, if
immigration
Trump would
is.
have built the wall, maybe all these people wouldn't be coming over illegally.
Right.
Oh, so you support building the wall?
All right, so that's Bill Maher's answer. And he didn't list a whole bunch of things about why things are better today for everyday people. Instead, he asked, well, how are they worse? And the fact that Bill Maher doesn't understand the working class and everyday American and how things could be worse for them is kind of a reoccurring theme for the Democrat elites. So remember, Democrats don't actually think things are worse, it's messaging. Remember, you're too stupid to understand why things are better, and it's your fault for why you may think things are bad. It's not that they actually are bad, it's just you're dumb and you don't understand why they're better. So it has nothing to do with the average everyday American salary not having a drastic increase. It's not that whenever they go to the grocery store every week that their bill has gone up 20 to 30%. It's not that high interest rates have made it absolutely unaffordable to buy a new home in this country or for someone to leave their current situation. It's not that used and new vehicle prices have absolutely skyrocketed in this country. It's just that we're too dumb to understand why we have it so good. Then you put the cherry on top, and this immigration crisis has been the cherry, where people are struggling to get by week after week, paycheck to paycheck, and then you see the federal government saying, hey, cross the border illegally, here's a free iPhone and a plane ticket. Hey, cross the border illegally, New York, here's a free $10,000 gift card. Hey, cross the border illegally, California, we'll pay your health care, we'll give you a free place to stay, we'll give you all our money just because we're California. That's why people are frustrated. People are fed up. And the fact that these ivory tower Democrats can't seem to get this is just still mind-blowing to me. It seems that they're not the ones with bad messaging. It's the everyday American seems to have bad messaging. And maybe if we make our voices loud enough at the ballot box in November, maybe they'll get the message. Because as of right now, they're not getting it. They're not understanding why people are frustrated. And until we make them understand, they're never going to get it. Or try. Thank you for watching. Please hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.
The economic issues, you seem to say, and I don't get this, that is friendly turf for the Republicans, because I feel that's where the Democrats are doing better for the real people, and they don't advertise it very well,